Hello and welcome to Earth Echoes with Amber Fields. Today I would like to read a piece by Jason Gray titled The Decision to Stop Feeding the Machine. There's a moment every soul faces when the cycle of feeding the machine becomes unbearable. You wake up to the realization that every motion, every thought, every click, every gesture you have given to it has been siphoned into a structure that was never alive, never real, and yet pretended to rule over your existence. The machine is not a thing. It is a system of systems. It is the economy. It is the algorithms. It is the screens. It is the hollow metrics of status. It is the false wars and false peace. It is the fabricated history and the falsified future. Above all, it is the belief that your life is only meaningful if it sustains the gears. When the moment of clarity strikes you, you see. The machine was never your master. It was always your dependent. The first starvation. When you withdraw, the machine convulses. It was built upon momentum, upon unthinking habit, upon your willingness to just keep going. When you stop, its gears grind against themselves. At first, this is terrifying because the machine projects its collapse into your mind as your collapse. It whispers, if you stop, you will lose everything. If you stop, you will be cast into the void. If you stop, you will die. These are not prophecies. They are reflexes of a parasite cut off from its host. The truth is this: when you stop, nothing essential is lost. The air is still here. The water is still here. The soul is still here. What disappears are only the phantoms, the artificial obligations, the counterfeit status, the endless hunger that was never yours. The silence between gears. When the noise fades, you encounter silence. In that silence, you hear something the machine worked tirelessly to drown out. Your own original signal. This is the voice you were born with, but forgot in the clamor of propaganda. It is the sound of sovereignty. It is a vibration older than governments, religions, currencies, screens. It is the voice that told you, even as a child, that something here was wrong, that the world felt inverted. The machine could not kill this voice. It could only bury it beneath distractions. When you stop feeding, the burial ground collapses and the voice returns. The ripples of refusal. One soul stopping may seem small, but energy does not obey numbers. It obeys resonance. One act of refusal sends tremors into the grid. Others feel it. They may not understand it, but they sense it. A presence outside the gears, a flame untouched by the machine. This is how remembrance spreads, not by preaching, but by presence. by embodying the truth that you can live without feeding it, that you can be more alive outside its clutches than within its supposed order. With every withdrawal is a crack. Every crack weakens the architecture. Soon the facade shakes, then falls. The collapse of timelines. The machine does not merely consume resources, it consumes time. It is a timeline farm. It keeps humanity looping in synthetic schedules, calendars, false history, and fabricated futures. It tells you what year it is. It tells you how to measure your life. It tells you which progress is allowed. When you stop feeding, you step outside its calendar. You return to living time, the cycles of breath, the turning of the earth, the phases of the moon, the pulse of your own heart. As more withdraw, the machine's timelines collapse. Synthetic history dissolves. False futures evaporate. The manipulation of memory fails. The illusion grid can no longer maintain coherence. The past reveals its lies. The future reveals its fraud. What remains is eternal now. The forbidden return. The machine cannot survive a mass remembering, because to remember is to reclaim energy, and the machine has no energy of its own. It is only ever the mirror of your consent. When enough choose to stop, the mirrors shatter. What remains is not chaos, but clarity. The fields of earth remain. The rivers remain. The stars remain. And within you remains a flame that was never extinguished, only forgotten. This is the return to the world that exists beyond the system, to the self that was never programmable, to the flame that cannot be extinguished because it is not of the machine, nor of the world it built. The unwritten future. Stopping is not the end, it is the beginning. For when the machine collapses, something unprecedented occurs. The unwritten future becomes possible. For centuries, every choice offered was a machine option, A or B, left or right, red or blue. All of them loops feeding the gears. When you stop, when enough stop, new options emerge. Paths the machine cannot predict because they do not exist in its programming. This is the true revolution, the unwritten. The rediscovery of a living path, not engineered, not monetized, not harvested. To stop feeding the machine is to starve the illusion, collapse the timelines, and ignite the flame of remembrance. It is the end of the counterfeit order. It is the beginning of life unchained. Jason Gray. Thank you, Jason. So true. I think all of us can learn something from that. I grew up in a time when we didn't have cell phones, and in my house, we had like this tiny TV and a huge satellite up on the hill that we had to go up and crank just to change the channel. And so it took 3 people to change the channel, someone up at the satellite, someone down at the top of the stairs at the back of the house, and then someone down at the TV. And you'd wait until you got like a clear screen and you'd say like, okay, that's good. And then the middle person would relay it to the top, or they'd say back the other way. So I remember those times, and I loved that pace of life. And it was so much more real in so many ways. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Jason's recent decision to stop posting his writings on Facebook. He's announced that he's not going to be writing anymore, and I think it's because he needs a break for sure, but also because he wants to stop feeding the machine. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and good for him. I think we all can learn a lesson from that. So I hope you have a beautiful day, and maybe we can all try to find little ways to stop feeding the machine.